Hi guys, so today I want to do something a bit different. Instead of just doing like regular makeup, I wanted to do something inspired by someone else. So I've been watching like a lot of Bailey Sarian's videos, and what she does is she does murder mystery with her makeup. So as she's doing her makeup, she's explaining like a true crime story that occurred, and I found it just like so interesting, and that inspired me to come up with a new series that I want to try doing, and that's going to be called Mind and Makeup. And it's most probably going to be Monday just because it's MMM, so Mind Makeup Mondays. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So, Mind Makeup Mondays. I really am interested by psychology. As soon as I got the opportunity to study in psychology in Cégep, I took it. Even high school, I studied psychology. And I really love doing makeup, so I just thought of combining the two, just as Bailey Sarian did with true crime. And I hope this turns out well, and I hope everyone enjoys it. And if you're wondering what this is, well, a bitch doesn't have a mic or any AirPods because I ain't that bougie, so... Okay, so let's just get into it. And today's topic is going to be dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. Okay, so dissociative identity disorder, also commonly known as multiple personality disorder. I've also watched like a video about a lady who had this disorder, and she said that she'd rather it be called multiple personality disorder because she's not really like disassociating. I look crazy. Okay, I think I'm just gonna skip this step. She said that like she would rather it be called, as I was saying, multiple personality disorder because like she's not really disassociating from anything or from herself or whatever the case may be. She rathered it be called multiple personality disorder because it fits the situation better. So I'm going to refer to multiple personality disorder, seeing as somebody who actually had the disorder rathered it be called that. So this is a mental disorder in which people who have the disorder develop one or more alternative or additional personalities, included their own. This order is, judging by the name, it's part of a group of disorders that are called dissociative disorder. In this group, it's basically mental illnesses that cause disruptions or like complete loss of memory, consciousness, awareness of your surroundings, even loss of your perception or your identity. And these are all things that, like, for a normal human being would just work without problem, would run smoothly. So the symptoms from these illnesses can range anywhere from mild to severe, and as you can guess, the more severe these symptoms are, the more they interfere with a person's life and their day-to-day chores and tasks. So it's pretty hard when you are living with a severe mental illness because it can truly impact your life and those around you. Now, this is also a very rare mental illness. Like, you will not, see this that common. And also this can occur in any age. There's not really a specific age, although multiple personality disorder does actually occur usually prior to traumatic events in childhood. So I think that people are more likely to have multiple personality disorder in childhood following traumatic events. So it's more likely that young children would be victims to this mental illness. And also women or girls are more likely to have this mental illness than males are. So as I mentioned before, the kind of cause of this mental illness is, in about 90% of the cases, is unfortunately trauma. So these people have had a history of abuse in their life. And often this abuse is severe sexual, mental, emotional, any kind of severe abuse. However, it can also be linked to accident or natural disasters and war. So basically, these are all traumatic events that a person can live through and unfortunately can develop this mental illness because of. And also a factor in developing the multiple personalities disorder can also be the loss of a very close person at a young age. So for example, if you lose a parent during childhood, or even if you are in isolation due to severe illness, then this can also factor in to the developing of multiple personality disorder. Now, the reasons why most people with multiple personality disorder have developed it following a traumatic event is because this is kind of a coping mechanism for them. This mental illness comes in and kind of rescues them from their traumatic event because it is helping them get away from what is happening or what has happened. So it can be seen in a way kind of as a savior for them because it helps them kind of escape from their reality, which unfortunately is abusive. So these personalities kind of take away the trauma from the person's actual awareness. So in a way, it's like the person never lived it. It's like their other personalities lived it, so they don't have to feel the trauma, if you understand. So by doing this, by letting other personalities kind of take over when the trauma is occurring, or when a person is kind of having flashbacks of this trauma, it lets the person or the main personality actually go through their daily functioning as if in a way nothing happened, or just going about as a more or less healthy way of going about it, because it's like the person never really lived through the trauma because another personality was able to suffer the trauma, which unfortunately the person still suffers the trauma. It's just that the other personalities were there to endure it in a way, which is so sad to say, but it is unfortunately a coping mechanism of the brain to just go ahead and switch off the awareness and let something else take over the trauma. Now, the people with multiple personality disorder can also have episodes of this, and these episodes can be triggered by, for example, a mild accident or periods of high stress, or really anything that just kind of reminds them of their trauma. Or something really interesting that I read in this article, another trigger may be when the child who was suffering childhood abuse, when they grow up and they reach the same age that their parents were when the child was getting abused, and that can also serve almost as like a reminder of what has happened to them in their childhood, and this may also trigger an episode of multiple personality disorder. So now the symptoms of multiple personality disorder. So, symptom 1, obviously it's in the name, there are multiple personalities. So there is one or more alter, which is a personality that is completely separate and totally distinguished from the initial personality of the person. So one or more extra personalities. Now, this doesn't always mean that the person will know that it's happening. The person does not necessarily 100% know, oh, another personality is taking me over, or oh, another personality just took over and, suffered the trauma for me. They don't always know that. The main or the core personality sometimes have periods of amnesia where they actually forgot what happened, or they just don't remember what has happened because this other personality or personalities have taken over the body, so they don't always know what's happening or who is in charge. Now, each alter, so each distinct personality of the person who has multiple personality disorder, is distinguishable from one another. So that means that they have different ways of living. They have a different history. They have a different way of reacting to things. They are their own personality and, in a way, person. It is honestly like a whole other person that is living inside you. These other personalities can also be of a different gender, have a different name, and as mentioned before, they can have different ways of dealing with certain situations and different histories. And these other personalities, or the alters, can even have like different allergies than the original personalities. So they can literally be allergic to other things. And I was going to reference this later on, but obviously the movie Split is based off of this disorder. And in that movie, I believe one of the personalities had diabetes and had to be treated for that. So these personalities are completely distinct from one another, and they each have their own sets of characteristics. However, this is not always a negative thing, because in some instances, the core personality or the person themselves can actually benefit from having a completely different and distinguishable alter. Let's say, for an example, I'm a very shy and timid person, but I really, really want this job, and I'm going in for an interview tomorrow, but I'm really nervous about the whole thing. Well, I'm going to call up my alter Diana, and she's going to come up, and since she is like confident as shit, and she's going to come up and help me get that interview, sis. But this at the same time can also create problems, because people don't really know who they're speaking to. For example, I'll use the same example as before. If, like I said, I'm very shy and I go in for this interview, and then I pull out Diana and Diana gets me the job. Well, if I go to the job and I'm shy and everyone's saying hi to me and I'm like, hi, and then my boss is gonna be like, this is not the bitch I hired. You know what I'm saying? So these people don't really know who they're talking to. As I said, there's multiple personalities with different ways of acting, different character traits. So you don't really know who you are talking to. Especially if, like, let's say the core personality is not really aware that they have multiple personality disorder. They're just kind of like, what? Yeah, that was totally me at the interview. If they're not aware, then it creates even more problems, and especially in relationships and friendships, this can also create problematic situations. And this even can be just problematic in the slightest of ways. Like, for example, if you have a personality that is, let's say, a shopping addict, and one day she decides to go to Winners and to buy this new purse and to buy 5 vases and new curtains and a sink and renovate the bathroom. The next day or later on, when this personality is not dominant or is not in the light, then when this personality is not dominant and the main or original personality comes back, then they will be like, who just changed these curtains, and who bought that sink, and where did this purse come from? So it can cause problems even in like just daily life. So it is a very problematic mental disorder, and it is unpleasant to have, unfortunately. There can also be like some physical changes or effects in the body. For example, people with multiple personality disorder can have severe headaches, depression, or mood swings. Anxiety, can have eating and sleeping problems, can even have substance abuse, and they can even have problems with their sexual functioning. So not everything down there is working just fine. They can also have hallucinations, so seeing stuff that isn't really there. And as mentioned before, they can have amnesia or loss of memory. And unfortunately, this is a mental illness that involves a 70% risk of suicide, because unfortunately, as I said, living with this mental disorder is very hard, because again, there's problems that come with it, with those who surround you, even with yourself and your home and your relationships and your friendships, even your family relationships. Those will all be affected by the disorder, and some people unfortunately cannot take the pressure of that. And as I said, it does entail a 70% suicide risk among those who have multiple personality disorder. Alright, so that is pretty much it for like the learning portion of it. Now I'm going to move on to a few examples. As I mentioned before, the movie Split is a huge example and is widely known by a lot of people, because it was a movie and it was a very popular one too. And as I said, you can see in this movie The main character has quite a few personalities, and he switches from one to the other. The one who steps into the light is the one who is the dominant personality, and a lot of people with multiple personality have actually explained it in this way, where there is a light and then there is a person stepping into the light, and then they are the dominant personality. Another example also that I saw was Oprah actually did a segment, or quite a few segments, I think she did like 2 or 3, where the show actually interviewed people who had multiple personality disorder, and their therapist was just sitting in front of them and helping these personalities come out for the camera. So yeah, there was this lady who came on the show, and she had multiple personalities, and I remember a few of them. One was named Dawn, and she was like the motherly figure, so she's the one who came out to help care for her daughter, Amy. And there was also another personality by the name of Ken, who was a homosexual 21-year-old man, even though her core personality, or herself, she was a woman. This personality saw himself as a man, no questions asked, no doubt about it. He was a gay man. There's also Salome, which was a very religious personality, and she was very erratic, so she couldn't stay still. She was always moving. So yeah, this goes to show that this is definitely not a joke of an illness. It is an actual serious illness, and it does occur in people, and unfortunately it occurs due to trauma and very traumatic events, and this is not like really something to be taken lightly. And the movie Split did bring this mental disorder to people's attentions, which is good, because people just kind of make a joke out of it, and people just everywhere on all these platforms just say like, me and my 50 personalities, or me and my 10 other personalities, and it's not really a joke when there's people who do actually have 15 personalities and who honestly are battling with this illness just to have a normal life and to function properly. I also have an example of this, again from a reference. I am not taking any of these things from my head or from personal experience. These are all from references. So this is going to be the story of Paula. Paula had very strict Baptist parents. She was subject to physical abuse starting as early as 5 years old. And she was even subject to sexual abuse from her father. And when she turned 15 and, hit puberty, that's when things got worse, because she then reported that she was raped by her father and a neighbor. So again, as mentioned before, these cases of multiple personality disorder do unfortunately result from cases of abuse or severe traumatic events, and poor Paula unfortunately had severe abuse, and oh my gosh, rape is just one of the most traumatic events that I can think of. It's just terrible. No woman should ever have to go through that. Now later on, when she was an adult, unfortunately she wasn't given the best guidance as a child on how to form good relationships and how to know which men are good for her and which are not. So she fell into, unfortunately, a lot of dysfunctional relationships. And then when she started to have really severe headaches and episodes of amnesia, then that's when she was referred to a counselor by her professor. So not even her parents. I mean, why would I think it was her parents in the first place? They were raping and abusing her. Anyways, she was originally diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which I will eventually talk about in my series. And then following a hypnosis session, she was finally diagnosed with multiple personality or dissociative identity disorder. Now, as she went to more and more sessions of therapy, the therapist was able to discover 3 alters. They were named Sherry, Janet, and Caroline. So Sherry was created in order to help Paula cope with or endure through the traumatic events that were happening in her life. So through all of the abuse, all of the rape, that's why Sherry was created for Paula. Janet was an angry teenager, as it is described in my references. And Caroline was only a 5-year-old child. And later on, another personality called Heather appeared, and she was suicidal. So the escalation of these events, finding Heather and seeing that she is suicidal, kind of pushed Paula's psychologist to try and kind of reintegrate all of her personalities earlier than anticipated, and unfortunately it didn't work. Eventually was committed to a mental institution in order to protect herself from harming herself. I'm guessing Paula is just like kind of an alias, which I completely understand. Oh yeah, that's her story. Okay, so I'm gonna finish my makeup and I'll be right back. I'm gonna just add lashes, some white eyeliner on my bottom lash line, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so this is the look for today. It came out so cute, and it was kind of inspired by today's topic because I wanted to kind of like split my eyeshadow, if that makes sense. I know I wanted lines and stuff in there, and honestly I think it looks great. They actually look neon, which is so cool. And the way I did my hair was I just took out half of my braids and the other half I just kind of left like that. Yeah, so that's it for my video. I really hope that this series helps people learn new things about mental disorders and mental illnesses, and hopefully I can be the one to kind of reach out a bit into society and grab their attention, and just in general help people learn more about these serious illnesses, because I love psychology, I love sitting down and talking to the camera, and I love doing my makeup. So it would be really, really cool if this can reach out to some people and hopefully help them learn a thing or two. And hopefully you guys can stay tuned and watch more of my content, because I have a lot more coming up and I have a lot more planned. This is just the beginning. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more of this. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, give me a thumbs down. Either way, it means you stopped by. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoy this content, and if there's like any feedback, just let me know. That's about it. So this is the finished look, and I hope you guys enjoyed Paula's story, and just in general, dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. I hope you guys learn more about that, and I did too, actually. Just by reading these articles and references, I did learn a lot on the topic, and again, I have a lot more planned, so stay tuned if you'd like to see that. And thank you very much for stopping by.